Imagine a life built entirely on borrowed time, secret contracts, and an immense mountain of debt, all hidden behind the pristine, whitewashed walls of a royal estate. For years, the public has been fed a highly manicured story about a pair who proudly claim to be the happiest divorced couple in the entire world, living together in apparent harmony despite decades of public humiliation. But behind those closed doors, away from the flashing cameras and the polite smiles, lies a toxic, chaotic environment that would leave ordinary people utterly speechless. Newly uncovered accounts from inside the palace have exposed a reality so bizarre that personal assistants reportedly lasted less than a day before fleeing Sarah Ferguson's employment in absolute exhaustion. Deep within the shadows of this royal household, a web of strict legal silence was woven to keep the public from finding out how a desperate Fergie was funding her lavish lifestyle. The true depth of their desperation was hidden behind closed doors, locked away under heavy non-disclosure agreements, until the very staff members who witnessed the madness finally decided to break their silence and reveal what really goes on when the former Duchess's royal curtains close. To truly understand the chaos of Sarah Ferguson's hidden world, one must look at what it was actually like to work inside it on a daily basis. For the long-serving personal assistants who managed to survive the environment, life with the former Duchess was described as an unpredictable, high-stress whirlwind that pushed many to their absolute limits. The demands were frequent, erratic, and deeply unconventional, creating an atmosphere that felt less like a professional workplace and more like walking through a minefield. According to newly exposed insider accounts, the turnover rate for staff was incredibly high, with some employees deciding to walk out after lasting only a single morning because Fergie's frantic energy was simply too much to handle. Those who stayed described the daily routine as an exhausting ordeal, comparing the experience to working with 50 jealous lovers all clamoring for Sarah's attention at the exact same time. One of the most infamous daily requirements involved a strict, non-negotiable demand for a fresh cream cake to be prepared and delivered to the Duchess's quarters each and every day without fail. If the smallest detail deviated from her expectations, the atmosphere could instantly shift, leaving the staff to navigate intense emotional waves. Yet, the impossible demands and the unpredictable outbursts were nothing compared to the deeply embarrassing truth about how Sarah actually funded her daily life. For the staff who managed to stick around, the daily chaos of handling eccentric demands was only half the battle. The real nightmare was managing a lifestyle built entirely on deception and unpaid debts. Insider accounts have exposed a deep-seated pattern of behavior that left Sarah Ferguson's own personal assistants feeling utterly mortified on a regular basis. The former Duchess had developed a reputation as a relentless seeker of free luxuries, flatly refusing to pay for things that ordinary people would spend a lifetime saving for. Fergie rarely, if ever, pulled out her own wallet, expecting instead to be showered with complimentary premium products or to have her entire lifestyle fully funded by wealthy acquaintances. This entitlement extended far beyond minor gifts. Sarah routinely targeted high-end fashion houses, ordering expensive custom garments and couture pieces under the pretense of borrowing them for public appearances, only to completely ghost the designers and never return the clothing or pay the invoices. When she traveled or needed security, the Duchess didn't hire professional firms. Instead, she used her social capital to pressure rich friends into letting her borrow their private security details for free. Her aides were left with the deeply uncomfortable task of making excuses to angry business owners, shielding a royal figure who acted as though the laws of commerce simply didn't apply to her. But when the stream of free luxuries from wealthy friends finally began to dry up, she turned to a far more dangerous and intimate source of funding: her own children. When the external funding sources dried up, the financial desperation within the household reached a breaking point, leading to decisions that shocked even her closest aides. Newly uncovered accounts reveal that Sarah Ferguson allegedly began exploiting her own daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, to keep her sinking financial ship afloat. Staff members watched in disbelief as the former Duchess constantly drew on Beatrice's personal credit cards to cover her own daily expenses and mounting luxury bills. The financial strain was so severe that Fergie's palace accounts frequently ran dry, forcing low-wage personal assistants to use their own personal credit cards to purchase household items for the royal family, often waiting months to be reimbursed, if they were paid at all. The financial choices became increasingly bizarre, including one instance where Sarah compensated a spiritual psychic advisor for their services entirely in cartons of cigarettes. To ensure these embarrassing arrangements never saw the light of day, employees were forced to sign incredibly strict non-disclosure agreements, threatening them with total ruin if they ever spoke to the press. This pattern of exploitation and erratic behavior wasn't a sudden development for the Duchess, however. It was the continuation of a decades-long history of public controversies. To fully comprehend the depth of this chaotic lifestyle, one must realize that this pattern of erratic behavior stretches back decades, marked by a series of public crises that repeatedly horrified the public and embarrassed the monarchy. The controversies began almost immediately after Sarah Ferguson entered the royal spotlight, highlighted by a widely criticized decision in 1988 to leave her newborn daughter, Princess Beatrice, behind in the care of staff when she was just 6 weeks old, all to accompany her husband on a lengthy overseas tour of Australia. The public backlash was intense, but it was nothing compared to the seismic scandal that shattered the former Duchess's marriage and her royal standing in 1992. Just months after separating from her royal husband, photographs emerged of Fergie sunbathing in a compromising position with her financial advisor, who was captured on camera intimately sucking her toes. The images went viral across global media, effectively banishing Sarah from the inner royal circle. Decades later, in 2010, financial desperation drove the Duchess into an even darker trap when an undercover sting operation caught her on video offering access to her high-ranking ex-husband in exchange for £500,000 in cash. But while these past humiliations were played out in the front-page headlines, they pale in comparison to the dark, newly uncovered international alliances that are threatening her standing today. A massive wave of newly uncovered information has sent shockwaves through the palace walls, exposing a completely unexpected connection across the Atlantic. Newly updated investigative reports have revealed that Sarah Ferguson allegedly maintained a secret, years-long intimate relationship with the heavily disgraced American music mogul Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, who was recently convicted and handed a 50-month prison sentence in the United States. According to the explosive details, the two first crossed paths back in 2002 at a high-profile gathering in New York, which was reportedly organized by none other than Ghislaine Maxwell. What followed was a highly secretive arrangement that allegedly spanned several years, with the pair meeting up for illicit trysts at ultra-luxurious hotels across Europe and Africa, with some stays reportedly costing staggering amounts of money per night. Insider sources claim the music figure was deeply obsessed with the British royal family and frequently bragged to associates about his connection to Fergie. Even more troubling are the allegations that the former Duchess introduced her young daughters to his circle during this period, including a luxury yacht gathering when Princess Eugenie was only 16 years old. Though representatives for Sarah have fiercely denied these claims as fabricated nonsense, the sheer timing of these leaks has left palace officials completely horrified as the dark alliance unravels in the public eye. And as this American empire collapsed, another dark shadow from her past rose directly from a prison cell. While rumors of distant connections continue to circle the internet, the most devastating blows to her reputation haven't come from speculative gossip, but from the unsealing of official government records. A massive wave of newly unsealed files has completely shattered any defense of ignorance, revealing the shocking depth of her ties to the late convicted predator Jeffrey Epstein. For years, the public was told that any association was a minor, regrettable lapse in judgment. But the newly exposed correspondence tells a completely different story. The documents unveiled a series of highly controversial email exchanges sent even after the financier had been convicted and imprisoned. In these messages, Sarah Ferguson humbly apologized to the wealthy criminal for public comments she had made about him, going so far as to describe him as a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend to her and her entire family. The backlash from these revelations was swift and severe, with a long list of major British charities and children's cancer foundations immediately cutting all ties with Fergie, stating publicly that her association made it completely inappropriate for her to represent them. Worse still, the unsealed documents hints at a deeply disturbing email thread referencing her own teenage daughter, Princess Eugenie, causing a massive wave of public outrage. With international pressure mounting and the public demanding accountability, the former royal couple found their world shrinking rapidly, leaving them with no choice but to retreat completely from society. With the world closing in and international pressure mounting, the ultimate collapse of this royal illusion has finally forced a bitter return to reality. The days of sprawling across the majestic 30-room royal lodge are officially gone, replaced by a much darker, deeply isolated reality. Stripped of his titles, honors, and royal status, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has officially relocated to a far more modest life at Marsh Farm on the Sandringham estate, a heavily fortified property that has undergone extensive security upgrades to keep the angry public at bay. Instead of an army of eager palace employees waiting on his every whim, his daily existence has been reduced to a minimal skeleton staff. His only consistent companions now are a few terriers and the remaining corgis that once belonged to the late Queen, a stark and lonely contrast to the glamorous life he once took for granted. Meanwhile, Sarah Ferguson faces a crisis of her own. With reports surfacing that she is effectively homeless after the loss of their grand estate, insiders suggest Fergie may soon be forced to swallow her pride and quietly move into the Sandringham property just to maintain a shred of security and routine. Her spectacular fall from grace serves as a chilling reminder that no amount of royal status, strategic legal silence, or high-level connections can forever hide the truth when the palace walls finally crumble. It leaves one to wonder if this ultimate exile is truly the final chapter of their story, or if the darkest secrets of the House of York are still waiting to be exposed to the world.